The first vehicle on this list is probably going to surprise you. I'm sitting in it. It is the Gen 1 Rivian R1T and R1S. Now, I am sitting in a Gen 1. I'm currently leasing this. I have about 10 months left on my lease. I've been very happy with it. I like it a lot. But the improvements that they've made to the Gen 2 should make you think twice before going with this platform. So 2022 to 2024 models are considered Gen 1 vehicles. Now, Rivian has some great over-the-air updates, but some of these updates are already not coming to Gen 1 vehicles, and to me, that's a problem. One of the recent updates that would have been really nice but isn't yet available is the smart turn signal. Basically what smart turn signal is, you hit your turn signal and it doesn't turn off until you are actually in the lane that you are turning into. My Tesla has that. It's really convenient. It's an excellent upgrade, but these Gen 1 vehicles for some reason don't have that. I still think it could come as a software update, but that's one of them. The other thing is the camera clarity on the newer Gen 2 vehicles is much better. They also have a heat pump based thermal system, which all Tesla Model Ys came with from day one. They updated the air suspension and air springs. They went from 17 ECUs down to 7, which removed 1.6 miles of wiring from each vehicle. They have a new compute module that is 10 times more powerful and enough to handle their future self-driving technology, which will further future-proof Gen 2 Rivians. So I like my Gen 1, okay? But there's just some things in it already with it only being, this is a 2023 model. There's some things where it's already becoming outdated. Now, on the used market, these things are dropping like crazy. They are in the $40,000 range for some of them. They get a ton of range, they deliver on their range, and the overall build quality is pretty good, and you can get unique colors and interior choices. So it's an excellent vehicle, but just be aware of those differences, at least that I listed out, that are on the Gen 2 vehicles. Now, if you're looking to lease or buy a Rivian, I will have my referral link on the screen. Currently, you get $500 off and 6 months of free charging, or you can take that $500 and use it for something in the gear shop, like that money toward a home charger. If you want to get Rivian underwear, you know, whatever you want, you can buy it there. Number two is going to be another shocker, and that's the Tesla Model X previous to 2021. So the Tesla Model X was a groundbreaking vehicle at the time, but Tesla has just not done much to it. And previous to 2021, I warn you about that because those vehicles, the Model X gets an 8-year, 150,000 mile battery warranty, which is extremely useful. And people forget about that. The battery is what everyone is worried about, right? Everyone's saying, oh, what happens when the battery explodes and I have to pay $4 million to replace the battery? Well, the battery warranty covers you 8 years or 150,000 miles, whichever comes first. So in my opinion, that's incredible, because think of an engine in a gas car. You do not have a warranty that is 8 years, 150,000 miles. It's, for companies like Ford, it's like 3 years, 36,000 miles, which shows how much confidence they have in their vehicles. The Model X previous to 2021, it has the vertical screen, it's getting limited updates. I would avoid that. I would look to a 2021, 2022 or newer, which has the horizontal screen. They've done a ton of updates to the interior, exterior, giving you hardware for all that stuff. The issue, and I was going to buy a Model X, I ended up doing a lease on a Rivian R1T, and the reason is kind of silly. I just felt that Rivian, you know, comparing them side by side, Rivian just had a kind of cooler looking SUV. I like the Model X, but it just seemed dated. And for cars in that segment, when you're going up against the BMW X7, the Mercedes-Benz GLS, the Rivian R1S, R1T doesn't really compare, but you get it. R1S and R1T are very similar. It just felt, I don't know. They really need to do a refresh and update and make people want to get back in those vehicles. Maybe that's steer-by-wire. Maybe that's putting some Cybertruck technology in it. Maybe it's a huge range boost. There's just not been a lot of movement there. It's still a good vehicle. It's very comfortable. It's decent on road trips. The charging curve is okay. And then it has the really cool doors, which was another thing that I was like, in my garage, I was like, I don't know. The doors have sensors on them. They can They are in a lot of ways more convenient than a normal door, getting in and out of the rear seats, but just something to consider. 2021 or newer for the Model X with the horizontal screen is the easiest way to tell. Now, before we get to number 3 on this 9 vehicle list, this video is sponsored just like last time by INTOTHEAM.com. This is one of their basic hoodies in indigo. They've been partnered with me for over 4 years now. I love their clothing. If you use code Gjeebs at checkout, you will save 10% in addition to any sale they have going. So their basic tees, their athletic tees, their athletic shorts, all of that stuff is excellent. And I even have a collaboration coming up with them, which you guys will really like. INTOTHEAM.com. Use code Gjeebs at checkout. I'll have a QR code up on your screen if you're watching this on your TV. Check them out. Well, instead of scrolling, check them out. Support the Gjeebs organization. We'd greatly appreciate it. INTOTHEAM, thank you for sponsoring this video. Code Gjeebs at checkout. Third vehicle on this list is the Mercedes EQS SUV. So the EQS has a ton of technology, but something like a Rivian R1S costs less and has more capability and was built from the ground up as an EV. Now, if you don't want to go as expensive as a Rivian R1S, you could look at the Kia EV9. Now, I've seen people say the Kia EV9 has had software issues where they get bricked and things like that. I feel like on the internet, all of the negativity rises to the top. I don't know how many EV9s had that issue. I do know that Kias have great warranties on them. Hopefully the dealerships are actually supporting those. But I drove the EV9 and I had a great time in it. It drives really well. And I think the EV9 and the R1S are much better offerings than the Mercedes EQS. With that said, if you're set on having a Mercedes, this is probably something you'd want to lease because the depreciation is going to be crazy. And here's the other thing. Not that performance is everything, but it is nice. And if you're going to buy an electric vehicle, there should be reasons outside of it just being electric that you want to buy. You should want to buy an electric vehicle because it's a better vehicle. The fully loaded EQS starts at $128,000 and it does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. And that is how fast the slowest Rivian gets to 60. On top of that, the Mercedes doesn't have all of the crazy software updates that Rivian will have. Even Kia may have software updates with the Kia EV9. So look, the EQS has great materials. It will ride really nice. It has all-wheel steering. It has some really nice features, but it's way overpriced. If you're going to go that route, look at the leases. They have crazy incentives. Sometimes they'll even offer you more money if you're going from a Tesla. If you bring a Tesla into the dealership, they will offer trunk cash on that. So there's a lot going on there. It's very easy to qualify for the $7,500 federal incentive is rolled into your lease. It was on this. That's like the easiest way to get it. But the EQS is a no-no. Number 4 is the Acura ZDX and the Honda Prologue. Oh, BMW XM. Look at that. Look at that. Those are beautiful. The Prologue and the ZDX are grouped together because they're essentially the same car with different materials on the inside. They have terrible range. They have terrible charging capability. They have a high MSRP, but I have 2 subscribers that have reached out and said, hey, if you want to review my Prologue, you can. They're not even close to Arizona. And they got $15,000 off of MSRP on a car that was like a month old. So bad value if you just look from an MSRP standpoint, but from what they're actually selling for, changes the conversation on these things. So I don't think it's a good EV, but price changes everything. So I did a quick search on the ZDX specifically, and these can be had for $40,000 to $45,000 with under 3,000 miles. They also have a $3,000 down and only $299 a month lease on them. So at that price point, you're looking at cheaper than a Tesla Model Y. You may be able to find some deals on Model Ys with the newer Juniper coming in now that Tesla will be discounting them. But hey, if you don't want to go the Tesla route, you want to do something different or stick with a brand you know, then with those price reductions, it becomes a better conversation as opposed to the $60,000 price point. Number 5 is the Jeep Wagoneer S, fully electric, and they said it came out with an award-winning infotainment system, but this is the award that they won.
I give it the award-winning for the worst infotainment system installed in any car.
Stellantis is a mess right now with their electric vehicles. It seems like they are not fully committed to making them, and they are known for making cars with value, and their EVs are anything but that. They have poor charging capabilities, remarkably bad software, and decent packaging while riding nicely, but there are nicer offerings from Kia, Tesla, and Rivian that I would look to before you look to the Jeep Wagoneer S. If you're looking to buy an electric vehicle, like I said earlier, you want it to do things better than the gas variant. You want to be getting something that you can't get in the gas variant. And the Wagoneer S does none of that. It doesn't bring you any extra value. They'll probably be heavily discounted here shortly if they aren't already, but let's keep moving. Number 6 is the Nissan Ariya. And to be honest, this one's kind of tough to put on the list, but hear me out. The Nissan Ariya falls in the segment of the best-selling car in the world, and that is the Tesla Model Y. So I drove the Ariya. I like that it's quick. It has a 4.8 second 0 to 60 time. They clearly targeted the Model Y and said, we're going to match that. We're going to make it fun to drive. It's very quick. I like the screen up front. It has a nice flow to the screen up front. They actually have a nice use of space on the interior of the vehicle, despite having no frunk because it looks like a gas engine up there. So having no frunk, I think, is a downside to it. But it rides really nice. It has a good sound system. It has nice materials on the interior, and the cost of them aren't actually crazy. And again, they're sitting on dealer lots, so you can get some good deals on them. In fact, after doing a quick search, you can get a Nissan Ariya brand new off of the dealer lot. I did this on Car Gurus if you guys want to replicate the search. You can get them brand new on dealer lots for $28,000. That is the same cost as a Nissan Leaf, and you're getting so much more vehicle there. I would get an Ariya over a Leaf every single day of the week. I have driven it for a week. I really enjoyed it. The technology is not great in it, but it does ride nice. It would be a nice around town vehicle, especially for $28,000. My recommendation: drive the Model Y, drive the Ariya, see which one you like better, see what numbers make sense to you, and then make a decision. Next up is the ID.4. The ID.4 is just a very boring and bad car with software issues. This thing does nothing for me. You could say, oh, it has minimalistic styling with all the features back into the infotainment, but the infotainment is very basic, and it does nothing better than a VW Atlas or Tiguan, and both of those cost less. I'll just say the same thing as I did with the Ariya. Try the Model Y, try the Ariya, try the ID.4, see what the numbers come out to be, and then make a decision. Now, the last two vehicles on this list, I promise you, left hand on the Bible, right hand up the God, and third hand on your heart, or however it works. These last two vehicles, unless you are very wealthy and want to just tinker with something, are worth no amount of money, $0. And the first one is the VinFast VF8. There's one service center. I'm just talking about the United States. I don't know how it looks elsewhere. I'm sure it's not good. But there's one service center in the whole US. There's a huge latency in the throttle response. The technology is bad. They aren't safe. This vehicle is a total joke and absolutely not worth buying. Shockingly, they've sold 97,000 of these worldwide somehow. And I'm not sure if that's specifically the VF8 or how the numbers break down, but VinFast is moving vehicles somehow. If you're in the United States, buy a used Tesla, buy a Hummer H1, anything but this vehicle. It's absolutely bad. And the final one on this video, this is the only company who has ever reached out and said, hey, do you do paid advertising on your channel? And I was like, well, for $100,000, I'll say whatever you want. They never actually came back with a number or anything, but Fisker reached out to me, I think it was 2 years ago, and said, hey, do you do paid whatever? It was weird. Like, I get press cars, like for this WRX TS, for example. I get this sent to me. I review it. Subaru doesn't say, hey, we want you to say this or that or that. They don't do any of that. They give me the car. They give me the new updates. I review it. I give an honest opinion. I've never had any manufacturer get mad or anything like that. They just want an honest insight on it. The Fisker Ocean is something you should not buy. Again, if you're someone like Rich Rebuilds, he's going to get it, produce a bunch of content, and potentially fix it. If you're looking for a cheap electric vehicle, this is not the answer. I would recommend you just get a gas car and stay away from this because it could be an absolute nightmare. They've gone out of business at this point. The software has bricked so many of them. And I actually feel bad for the owners. Some people paying $80,000 for these things when they came out. And you kind of knew for this company to come out of nowhere. Fisker previously existed, but to come out with all these promises and all this new technology, eclipsing the Model Y and some of these other vehicles, it really made me wonder. And then when I saw the cost and saw people buying them, it's just really terrible. So this is worth no amount of money. Again, if you want to tinker with it, fine, and you have this is a third or second or whatever car, fine. but absolutely stay away from this vehicle. Now, earlier I mentioned I own a Rivian R1T, so if you want to see what it's like road tripping that across the country using different chargers, click this video right here. It's me driving from North Carolina back to Arizona.